Hello. I think I'm starting. Give me a second. I'm going to give it a moment because I'm getting cut off sometimes. Okay. Welcome to the Flipping and Wholesaling Houses in New York show. I am Michael Pinter, where I teach you how to start flipping or wholesaling houses. And if you're already doing it, how to grow your business. So I got a question. I have bad credit, no money. Can I get a hard money loan to start flipping? So a couple of things to unpack in that question. The answer is maybe. So first of all, if you have no money, I don't recommend you start flipping at all. Remember, a hard money loan is only going to be for when you are closing on a property. If you have no money, closing on a property is probably a huge mistake because you need a lot of money to close on a property. What's a lot of money? So it's probably averages for me about $100,000 on a deal. Now, what does that consist of? So let's say you're buying a property for $350,000, right? With an ARV after repaired value of $550,000. I'm just throwing numbers out there. You're going to have a minimum of 10% that you're going to have to put down on the purchase. And the truth is, if you're new, you're probably going to have to put down 20% or maybe even 30% on the purchase. 30% on the $350,000 loan is already $100,000. But let's cut it in the middle. Let's just take it in the middle and say 20%. That's $70,000. Plus, you're going to need closing costs. Let's say it's another $10,000. That's $80,000, and you're going to need to make monthly payments every month. So you're already at $100,000 quickly. So if you have no money, you probably shouldn't start flipping because everything always costs more, and there's always cash has to go into deal. You have to pay holding costs besides your interest payments to your hard money lender. You have to pay for utilities. You may have to pay taxes, although sometimes you can wait for taxes at the end. But things come up, right? Construction comes up. So in the example I gave, the hard money lender will give you the money for the construction, assuming your estimate is correct, which may or may not be so. Very often you say, hey, I need $60,000 for the work. It ends up being $80,000. But you're still going to have to give some money to the contractor to get them started. The hard money lender only pays in arrears. So a typical example, let's say an example I gave. So it's $350,000, you say you need $60,000, and you say, I'm going to put in a kitchen, I'm going to do 2 bathrooms, I'm just giving numbers, and I'm doing flooring, let's just say. So they're going to ask you for a draw schedule, and you're going to tell them, well, after the kitchen's done, I want $20,000. After the bathroom's done, I want another $20,000, and when everything's done, I want the last $20,000. So you're going to have to start the contractor off with something. He's going to want to spend money on materials. If he's putting a kitchen in first, he needs to buy cabinetry. You may have to front $10,000, $15,000 to start. So you need cash when you're flipping. So if you have no money, I would say don't flip unless, and here's the key, and this is what I did, you have somebody else's money that will lend it to you. Now, again, and you can then use that person also to borrow on it. So you can go to someone who has good credit and has some money and say, hey, I have this deal. And that's really that's really what you're bringing to the table. You found the deal. Again, these are for off-market deals. Don't come to anyone, including me, with an on-market deal. Doesn't excite me. Almost never works out. But if you know a seller who wants to sell a $550,000 house that needs $50,000 of work, that's going to be worth for $350,000. That's a deal, and that's the value you bring. So you can go to someone and say, hey, I need you to co-sign on a loan with me so that we can get a hard money loan, and I need $120,000 of your money so that we can complete the deal. What I am going to bring to the table is, first of all, I found this deal. Someone's going to fund the deal. It could be you, and also, I'm going to manage the construction, make sure it stays, on budget and on schedule. And then I am going to make sure we sell the property and make money on it. For a lot of people, that's a good proposition. So I would say that can happen, right? And then what you're giving to the guy in return is either you can give him a fixed rate of return on his investment paid at the end. So you can say, I'll give you 12% on your money. So you're going to give me $120,000. I'm going to give you 12%, or you can say I'll give you 10%, and then I'll give you 10% of the profits. You have to work it out with them. When I started doing this, I was borrowing hard money and taking a private equity position for the gap funding, and I was paying the gap funder as much as 50% of the deal, of the profit. 50% of the profit. So, it was not easy doing those deals in the beginning, but it got my business started and it worked. So I don't know if you should go all the way to 50%, but maybe you can give him 30%. Maybe he wants 50%, and maybe that works, right? It's worth it if 50% of a grape That's not good. 50% of a deal is better than zero, right? So you have to work to get other people's money. You're going to need money if you flip deals. If you're going to wholesale, you don't need that much money, right? You need $1,500 to get started marketing, and then maybe you need an EMD, a deposit, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. Also, not that hard to get. Actually, in some ways harder, but you can usually get people to lend you a small amount and cut them in on the deal or give them a good rate of return. Either way, I would always advise going for debt if you can. Let it be a note that you sign and where you're going to give them a fixed rate of return. Even if it's 20% on their money on an EMD, how much is 20% of a $10,000 deposit? You give them $2,000. It makes the deal happen. That's great. And then you wholesale the deal and you pay him off. So the problem with borrowing on an EMD, on a deposit, is it's not secured by anything. It's just sitting in an account. It's sitting in an escrow account, and if you can't perform, you can't close, you may lose the deposit. So the better thing is if you're closing on a deal, then his money is secured with a lien, a first lien mortgage on the property. He could theoretically collect the property if the deal goes south. So now, as for credit, let's talk about credit. So it's funny, before 2008, none of these hard money lenders checked credit. They didn't care. They just were asset-based lenders. They looked at the deal. Today, I would say 95% of lenders do check your credit. Some will still lend if your credit's not great, but most will not if your credit's below 620. Some even require a 700 score. So again, that's why you want to bring somebody in on the deal and say, hey, I know you have good credit, or do you have good credit? And can you co-sign for me on this loan or this line of credit, whatever it is, so that we can get deals and I'll pay you a percentage of the profits. That's the basic gist of that. You're basically using somebody else's credit, and the lenders are fine with that, right? That you shouldn't pretend not to be on the deal, but you could say that you're a construction manager on the deal, that kind of thing, and then that person signs and he's personally liable if the deal goes bad. But the truth is, if the deal goes bad, you're probably just going to sell the property. There's going to be a relatively small loss. If you're buying let's take the same example I gave. If you're buying a property that's worth $550 when it's done for $350. And let's say you screw up the construction or the contractor runs away and steals your money, which happens, you probably can still sell the property for somewhat near what you borrowed. So will there be a loss, small loss? But they're going to come after you for the gap? Probably not. They may be a judgment on you, but it's very rare to have a problem like that because you should be buying properties at enough of a discount that there's room for even cataclysmic, catastrophic events, right? And I've had situations where contractor disappeared on me. I've had situations where construction came in more than I expected. Something came up that I just didn't expect. I had a deal where I thought the roof was great. The roof was not great. It cost $12,000 for the roof. That happens. That's not cataclysmic, but things can happen. The beauty of what we do is that we buy at enough of a discount, which is why, again, people come up and say, oh, I have a deal, it's worth $500, I could buy it for $470. That's not a deal. That's just a waste of your time. You need deals where you're going to get it for 70% of after repaired value minus repairs, 75, something like that, even 80. With there's enough room, enough of a cushion that if something goes bad, you're still going to do okay. Right, and I got lucky when I first started out when I didn't know what I was doing because the market really saved me back in 2013. Right, I probably over improved houses, but houses that I thought I was going to sell for $400, I ended up selling for $430 and $440. So that made them profitable deals. Today, where the market's shifting the other way, you could get hurt a little. That's why when I'm making offers now, I'm adjusting my numbers down because I am concerned that by the time I sell a property that I'm flipping, that the market might be 5 to 10% less. It's possible. I don't know. I wish anybody who tells you they know is full of crap. But you sort of have to give yourself a bigger cushion today because the market is not where it was before the summer. So I hope this was helpful. As for the credit and the heart and the money, somebody needs money to get hard money loans. There was a lender who was active in Massachusetts who came here and said, we don't run credit. I don't know if they're still lending in New York. So I'm not saying there isn't a lender out there that doesn't care about your credit, but it's hard to find today. But again, you don't need to be the one with the good credit and the money. It could be somebody else. And there's a lot of people out there, and you can even get people who have IRAs or 401ks, and they can move that to a self-directed account, and they can lend money or buy properties either in their self-directed IRAs or in their self-directed 401ks. Solo case, all this stuff, they all can be self-directed, which means they can buy a property, they can sell a property, or they can lend to an entity on a property. So something to think about. I hope this was helpful. If you're interested in all the ways I can help you, go to howtoflipnewyork.com. If you're interested in coaching, go to coaching.howtoflipnewyork.com. What else? I'm doing the third lesson today in the course, in the program, study at home program. If you're interested in finding out more about that, you can call me in the office, 516-209-2010, or email me at mpinter@lmpkrealty.com. And please keep the comments coming. I post 5 times a week. I don't always know what to say. Your questions give me topics to discuss that I really, really appreciate. I can't tell you how much I appreciate questions. Any questions fine. Does not have to be about the video you're watching at all. If it's something simple, I'll just reply with an answer. If it's something I covered recently, I might send you a link to a video on it. And if it's something new, I'll do a brand new video on it. So thank you very, very much for watching. I really appreciate it.